Continue the series Grow. I've actually been talking to Mom about this for about a month now, and I've just been feeling in my spirit to talk about pulling out the weeds. A year ago, this whole pandemic has been hard enough, and to throw a child in the mix, and it's very, very difficult to be able to do that. And a year ago, I was tested spiritually, physically, emotionally to the absolute rim that I just didn't think I would ever make it out of it. And God had taken Kim and I to a different level of our faith. And we had a decision to make. She had 2 job offers, and one of them actually came from Miss Lisa, that I made a phone call because I was just that desperate, because she was homesick and never been away from parents. And then all of a sudden, I took her away within a year. That was the hardest thing to do when you're really connected to your family, to be able to just be separated and completely just ripped out of their hands. And so we moved down here. When our agreement was, after a year, if you are still not happy, then we're going back. And I was truly believing God, God, I can't go back to Toledo. I'm from Columbus. This is way different. And you go from 2.5 million people to 650,000. It's very hard to adjust. It was a really big adjustment for me to stay in Toledo, but it was a big adjustment for her to stay in Columbus. So that job came, and before it even got into that point, I'm thinking, Kendall, I can hear my spirit just clear as day. I'm praying and worshiping, crying out, God, please give her the eyes to see and the ears to hear. A year went by. Time came, and I said, Kendall, you're going to have 2 job offers. One's going to be in Toledo, and one's going to be here in Columbus. And this was before it even happened. Lo and behold, right when that time came, she had 2. In that moment, she decided that she felt that God was taking her back to Toledo. And I'm thinking in my head, well, God, why would God do such a thing? That makes 0 sense to me. Why would you just rip my family apart and then just leave me with nothing? I only see her. At that point, I wasn't even seeing her because she was so young, she can't go without Mom. So for 6-7 months, I have nothing. You want to talk about your faith being completely just tested. Every bit of you. The devil's just sitting in there just chirping in your ear left and right, night and day. And you're sitting here having to keep pushing through and figuring out, is there even really a God at this point? And what he was doing, because that entire time while I was in college, I struggled in my faith. I didn't have anybody up there that was strong in their faith, that really believed in what we believe here. So my foundation was shaken. I allowed weeds to come into my garden that completely just took me right up off the path that God had for me. And so I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get back to Columbus. We're going to get back to my family. We're going to get back to church. Everything's going to be great. Everything was great. I've never heard God so clear as day, where Dad's speaking in tongues, and I can completely hear everything he's saying clear as day. And Dad, you're praying over the congregation. There are a lot of words in your head there. Yeah, how'd you know? I just felt it. I could just sense it, feel it, everything. Because I was digging. Because I'm fighting for my family. I'm cleaning out my garden like there's nothing else in there. I want to make sure this is the most fertile ground that you can drop any seed in, and give it a week or 2. We're going to have something pop up out this ground. Because I was that determined to keep my family together. But God had other plans. And I find myself, we sit there and have the idea of the plan that we want and what it's supposed to look like. But God's got the complete different thing, and it will shake you. And it will make you really thinking about, is this what I really want to follow for the rest of my life? Because at this point right now, this ain't it. This is not the move. And so I said, all right, God, I'm going to let you take her. But I'm not going to really follow like I need to. We have the little Ring doorbell. So I'm watching her parents come down, helping her grab her things. I'm at work, and I'm watching her just exit, enter, taking her belongings. I'm bawling my eyes out at work. They're looking at me like, you crazy. What you crying over some lady for? This is my baby mama. This is my daughter, And I'm like, man, God, this can't be you. This is no way. You would never let you do this. Dad always told me, Those who diligently seek him, they're going to have everything you need. You're going to have everything. So why would you take them from me? What he's doing was he was cleaning out my garden. He allowed her to go, allowed her to get her garden together. Because if you all understand, just because you're married doesn't mean that my relationship with God is as similar as hers. It's way different. And so you have to make sure your own garden is taken care of before you can start to try to venture out and do your own thing. And because we allowed so many weeds and rodents to come into our garden, we had to basically just set the whole thing on fire and start over. Set it up, just match gasoline. But if you understand what a forest fire does, it grows 10 times stronger when it comes back. And that's what he did. So I want to talk about understanding and recognize what a weed is. Because sometimes we find these things of DMs, a simple conversation. You got your work husband at your job, money, your job in general, and you go, oh, this is okay. He's fine. Or she's okay. You know, we're just going to a work dinner. But you know that person's coming with you. And the DMs are so easy nowadays. Social media is the easiest way to get a relationship. You ain't even got to do nothing. You just look for a few photos. I like the way they look and keep it pushing. So you got to recognize what the devil's doing. Yeah, it seems harmless, but that's how he works. And here in the scriptures, be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversaries, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. And we all see those things where, oh, I can go out and have one drink. I'll be fine. I'll have just one beer. That one beer turns into 2, 3. Before you know it, you're not even in the right state of mind because you just got a DUI and you're out here acting a fool. All because you thought your flesh could handle it. And the moment that you start to lean on your own understanding, because I'm speaking from experience, you're going to fall flat on your face. I remember a time in college, my sophomore year, and y'all know me. I've never been a drinker. I've never been anything into drugs. Never been any of that stuff. But decided to go and I'm going to start experimenting in college. I know right. I know right from wrong, but I'm going to be rebellious. I'm just going to be the black sheep. And I remember me and Mom had an argument. And I told my mom that I didn't need her because I was making $1,700 a month. I got my own place, my own car, paying for my insurance. And God put me right on my butt. And I mean right on my butt. We had a falling out. It was during the summer, so everybody goes home for football. I'm stuck in this 4-bedroom house by myself. And I had a reflection in my bedroom. Don't even know what caused it. Like, God, why am I like this? I'm not happy. I'm so depressed, stressed out, don't like where I'm going, don't like where I'm headed. And I'm like, just give me a song to worship to. And by this time, it's 2016. So I put on Pandora. And you want to talk about how God works. Pandora, there's nothing that you can just, I want this specific song. Pandora is random. I put on my little worship playlist. Kim Walker, How He Loves Us, come on. And before the song starts, it says, God is a jealous God. And by that time, I hear that, I'm bawling my eyes out because I understand what he means. It's a daily thing that you have to do. It's not something that you can just pick up, put down 1 minute. That's not how it works. It's got to be a consistent daily grind. Because the moment that you let up is the moment the devil comes creeping up. Because every time you go in one step forward, the devil's one step right behind you. And the moment that you go, I'm comfortable and I'm good. This is great. I'm making money. I got different adventures going on. My little work husband over here staying at bay. He ain't calling me when he's not supposed to. You know, I know. Right? And now he's calling late at night. They're DMing you when you're sitting right next to your wife. That one beer now turns into a shot. Now you're lying. Now you're sneaking. It's a daily grind. Okay? 1 Peter, as newborn babies want milk, you should want the pure and simple teaching. By it, you can mature in your salvation. You got to want it just as much as a baby. Right? Baby needs to be fed. Whenever they need to be fed, they need to be fed. And that's the same way as with your spiritual walk. It's not something that you just, I got time in the morning and that's when I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to do it right before bed. It's an everyday thing. A lot of people use the term, put God first. But what about the rest of it? Shouldn't God be in everything that you're going through? Not first, second, not just first, but first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh? Because everything you're going to do, you got to do it with God because you can't do it. I'm running a business. It's strictly sales. And it's 100% commission. There's nothing about it that's a salary that I'm going to be able to collect a check every freaking month. I'm going to get paid. No, it's a sales job. Yeah, I can talk to 1,000 people. Get them on the phone. Yeah, that sounds good. But if they're not pulling the trigger because I'm trying to do it on my own understanding, because I know I'm not living right, but God knows once I get this money, I'm already not going to be living right. I'm way out here in left field doing something I'm not supposed to be. But at the moment that I go, all right, God, let me go ahead and put you in the mix of this, my business is going to explode. I mean, we've all seen it. We got things going on in our lives that we're like, what are we doing? Miss Julie's situation, I talk about hers all the time. You're talking about somebody that's not even supposed to be here, still alive. All because she was digging day in and day out, day in and day out. So I want you to write these 3 things down if you are taking notes. 3 daily tools for spiritual growth, okay? Spending time daily. It's very important. It's the key. Feed your spirit the word. Don't just think that you're just worshiping is good enough. You got to read that word. That word is everything. It's a light unto your path. That is your direction. It's your playbook. It's your cheat code. It's the answers to the test. All you got to do. Number 3, watch what you're feeding your spirit. Watch that music that you're listening to. You think it's harmful. It's so funny because listen, the other day we were in a truck and we were playing some old school rap. Harmless. Nothing in there was vulgar. It was very profound. Zinni gets on there and she goes, no, more. And more means change in her language. And so I was like, what do you want? Worship. I'm like, okay. We changed it to worship music. Immediately she starts calming down and she starts back there just in her little car seat swaying. You want to talk about a punch in the gut and like, okay, this is God checking you with a 1-year-old. You want to talk about being like, ooh, my bad. You're talking about embarrassing. Watch what you're feeding your spirit. And as we get to close, and here we go. Have faith for what your garden is going to look like before you plant that seed. It takes faith to really, really, and I mean 100% trust God. It took every bit of my faith to trust that God was going to bring my wife and my kid back to Columbus. It took 6 months before she came back. And you want to talk about the hardest 6 months of my life. I had no idea if she was ever going to come back. If it was ever going to happen, because I understand the bond that she has between her family. And then here comes little old me, taking her and ripping her away from them. You got to learn to walk by faith, not by sight. That is the most important part right there. You got to follow it. And in closing, write it down. These journals are perfect for what Mom did because, it's so funny. I have a journal that I write in, and it's thick. And I've written so much stuff in it. And I remember before we left Toledo and moved down here, I just remember grinding because I'm like, okay, we have a kid. I do not want to bring this child in this world knowing I'm not living right. I need to get on the ball because a lot of people, you had a baby out of wedlock. Yeah, but that baby saved my life. And I mean 100% saved my life. And I am truly indebted to her, and she don't even know it. And that's why I give her my all every single day I wake up, because she gave me life. She made life worth it, right? So I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to T.D. Jakes. I'm writing down notes, and I'm just like, man, God's just taking us home. It's time to go home. It's time to go home. It's time to go home. Right in my journal, I put the date on it and time, because I always want to revert back to it, so I know what the timeline looks like. A year, literally, from that day I wrote it down, it was exactly where God said we were going to be. And it was in that moment I was like, okay, God, I got you. I'm going to follow you. Excuse me. That's really what helped me get through that 6 months. Because I reverted back to my journal from 2019 that I wrote down. It was already wrote down on what God was doing. I just had to buck up and be prepared for what was going to happen. And knowing they were coming back. Because all of what God was already told me what to do. But it's going to test your faith. It's going to test every ounce of you. But for him to elevate you, he's got to test you. And you got to push through that door to get through that barrier to get onto the next side of where he's going to get you. But just don't think that it's just going to stop there. Because you're growing. There's growing pains. I know every one of us remembers as a young individual, your knees was hurting, your back was hurting. Because those growing pains, you're growing, you're sleeping more. And you're complaining, you're griping. But now you got a growth spurt. It's exactly where God's taking you. He's growing you. He's pushing you. And that's what's so perfect about this series, because a whole month ago, I didn't even know I was going to talk about growth. And Mom starts this series. So just don't forget. Be encouraged. There's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be some things that y'all go through, that you're going through, that's testing you. Hold tight to each other and understand God got you. He's not going to ever put you through anything that you can't already handle. You just have to already prepare for it. He already gave you the tools. Now it's the time to walk in it. Get in your prayer closet. It's going to work out, I promise. It always does. If I can go through what I just went through a whole year ago, and I can make it out of that, anybody can make it out of anything. I can promise you that. Love y'all.